Hey everyone, this is Robert, and thank you for tuning in to the show. And yeah, I hope everybody is doing well out there. And we're just kind of chilling once again. And I have a returning guest, as you might have already noticed. But yeah, I'm so glad to have Anastasia back on the show. Thank you so much for joining me on this lovely afternoon.
Hi, everyone. Hi, thanks for having me again.
Yep, anytime. So I guess to start this out, tell me a little bit about what you've been doing since we last spoke and how everything's been going so far.
Yeah, for sure. So, funny enough, after we spoke, I really started diving in. Funny enough, I left my agent that I was with at the time and I got myself a new agent. It was a change I felt like I needed to do for a while. And I did it in a time, maybe not the greatest time to switch agents, but I really wanted to risk it. So I've been working on that and it's been great because Toronto has been slowly coming back to where it should be. So it's been great. And then I started kind of thinking, okay, what else can I do besides the acting? And I already do my YouTube, which I love. And I started kind of going into the world of social media. So I actually work for two accounts and I'm their social media manager. And so I manage all their content. I shoot, I post, I edit. Like I'm fully in it 100%. And it's been a lot of work, but it's also been a lot of fun. And I've been learning so much by being a part of it and just adding it on to all my things that I'm doing.
Yeah, that definitely does sound like you've been staying pretty busy.
I think that's the one thing, and I've talked about this last time when we had a chat, that you need to find a way to keep yourself busy when the industry is either in a tough spot, or if you're in a tough spot, or if you're not sure sort of where the industry is going, or if you're not getting auditions a lot, you need to find another thing to do to keep you busy that has more stability than acting, because if you don't have it, it's going to be really difficult.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think that's kind of like it brings me to the question that kind of started this whole that inspired this whole follow-up episode to begin with, which is social media profiles. So I think I've also asked you in the email, but how often do you have to redo it just to keep it fresh and up to date? Yeah,
Yeah,
just with your social media presence per se.
100%, 100%. So I think so when it comes to social media as an actor, I mean, I know a lot of people are not going to want to hear this, but it is important to have some sort of social media presence as an actor. We have moved into a world where a lot of the casting does come from the social media. Now, I'm not saying that they will only cast you based on what your social media profile is. No, but they definitely do look at you to see what kind of presence you have. Now, if you want to update it, I think that's more so up to you. I've seen actors and I know actors that update it. I kid you not, like they're very active on social media. They're constantly posting stories, posts, like reels. They do it on a weekly basis. There's some actors that use their social media only for the sake of just doing it, let's say every few months when they have a gig or they have something exciting happening. And there's some that only do it very sporadically. So I think it's more important to you of how you want to take your social media. But I say, honestly, in my opinion, I think it's good to post about it when you have a project and you know when something is going on that you're also allowed to post. Like, be aware if you signed an NDA, you obviously have to be careful what you're posting. But I would stay relatively active in letting people know what you're up to.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I talk to a lot of people about social media, it's usually just, oh, I kind of update it whenever there. But then again, there's like so much that we do during the day, and it's like, oh, wow, so I gotta really set aside the time in order to do this. So it's just kind of like, yeah, there's just a lot that kind of goes into play when it comes to updating and just making the website, doing your demo reels, and having, the essential tools to showcase the clients and, your employees.
100%. I think if we're talking in terms of like website and demos, that is what is selling your product and you are the product. So those have to get updated like all the time. If you have a new movie or short film or show you did, you have to update it immediately on your demo. So that's something important. Same with your resume, your website. If you got new headshots, don't wait a year to post your headshots on your website. Get those out there immediately because why would you have your old headshots on your website, right? Things like that are, I would say, take more precedent than a social media profile. But a social media profile is kind of like a branch of your website to continue updating as you are moving through your journey of being an actor.
Same also goes for resume and just,
Hmm.
you know, yeah.
100%. Yeah, resume, all of that kind of stuff. You want to keep updating it. You want to stay fresh. I think people need to understand that when you're doing this industry and when you're in this industry, you have to treat it the same way as you would as if you were in like a classic 9 to 5 day job, right? If you are a lawyer, obviously a lawyer is going to constantly update what they've been up to, the cases that they're working on, this, that, right? It's the same sort of concept that I like to give out to my subscribers when I talk on my YouTube channel that you should be doing the same thing with your resume, demo, and social media.
Yeah, it can definitely be like a wild card, man. You just never know what's. I mean, literally just this month, I've seen so many people just jump, just literally abandoning, not abandon, but just leaving Twitter for the blue butterfly.
Mm.
I think it's Blue Sky, but yeah, there's like so many that are just leaving Twitter and moving over to like other platforms because we're kind of getting to the place where it's just I think once you start really having a good following, or just if you're kind of like at a place where it's like, okay, you know what? If this is kind of really too toxic, then yeah, I'm not really sure if this is like something that you wanted to stay because like with social media, especially when it comes to, discussing politics or just any other personal stuff, it can be really it's so draining to your, on your mental state. So that's why it's kind of really important that, it's good to use social media for a business, but definitely monitor how much you're using it. That's the bottom line.
Oh yeah, that's actually one thing I wanted to just note about. That's really important. First of all, is how much of your mental health can take social media and how much you want to put out there. So don't feel that you have to always update if you feel that it's a lot of work for you and you can't do it because you also want to be right for yourself and you're not burning yourself out. The other thing that I do really advise people when it comes to social media platforms is choose one and stick to one. You don't have to do Twitter and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Like choose one that you feel you're most inclined to and that you can handle, and then just continuously update on there. And I think you're so right. You have to understand that your social media profile is your business. You are the business page because you are the product when you're in an industry like this. And it's not just acting, like we're talking if you're doing animation, if you're doing voiceover, if you're doing commercial, if you're production, if you want to get involved with other topics on your social media, that's fine. But I recommend if people want to talk about politics and everything else, I would actually recommend you having a separate social media profile just for your acting or just for your whatever else you're doing, and then have your own personal that you can talk about whatever you want on there. But I wouldn't mix the both together.
Yeah. And I do know that there's a lot of alternate accounts that you use for politics. So if that's something that works for you, fine. But I just kind of wanted to keep it just, fresh and just,
100%.
I mean, if it's something that I really, really must talk about, then, I'll just say, hey, like, definitely support this. This is not okay. I just need pointers because I'm not really well, or if it's like an issue that I'm not really particularly like familiar with, I'll just be like, hey, so what is something that we could do in order to have like a really good conversation about this without like going into, war or anything, stuff like that.
Yes, I really agree with that. Like for example, that I like to use. So I'm Ukrainian, and I have family that's in Ukraine. And when the war started, it obviously affected a huge part of me and my family that's back in Ukraine. And for me, I have no problem. I will post about the war and what goes on there on my. It's my personal Instagram, but I also keep it professional because I have my acting on there. If you want to talk about things like that, I think that's fine because you're coming from a place of bringing awareness to what's going on and you're trying to speak the truth. But if you're trying to come from a place of like you're trying to start a political fight, I'm like, I don't know how well that's going to help you truly. And again, like take it with a grain of salt. You do what works for you, but if you want to talk about something that brings awareness and that you can advocate for like how can we help, and you have a platform of like what more can we do as the people, 1,000% you can do that. You have to obviously know how you're posting it and how you're saying it. But if you're trying to like have a bunch of bots and have a bunch of like people behind the screen start a fight with you, not going to end very well. So that's something you have to think about.
Yeah, it goes back to the think before you post
Hmm.
mentality.
It's huge. You do have to always think before your post. And even like I said, not even just politics, like anything worldly issues, you got to think before you post. Also, how you post it. It's how you word your caption. It's what your message is behind the caption, right? And even just your own personal stuff that you do with acting or whatever, like you got to make sure, am I allowed to post this? Did I sign an NDA? How long is my NDA? Like all this kind of stuff. And for those who don't know what NDA is, it's a non-disclosure agreement. It's something that you will be asked to sign if you're on like a big Netflix show or Paramount or Universal. They'll ask you to sign it, meaning that you're not allowed to talk about it until the show is either airing or they've done their own promotional stuff and advertising about the show that you're on. So you want to make sure that you're not going against the NDA that you signed because you actually can get fired and you will get recasted. And that is the last thing you want when you've finally had your big break.
Yeah. And how often do you think, oh, should I really talk about this on social media or should I do a YouTube video on this?
Oh my
With,
gosh,
yeah.
all the time, all the time. Even with the stuff when I talk about Ukraine, I'm always very like, okay, I need to watch how I say this and how I word it, and I need to make sure that the information I'm putting out is correct. I actually on my YouTube, only in the beginning when the war started, I talked about Ukraine, and I actually went to Ukraine during the war and I delivered humanitarian aid, and I talked about that. But the rest of the time, I was like, look, my YouTube is not a political channel. My YouTube is not meant to talk about all the politics in the world. I have no problem if I said a few things here and there, but that's not the view that I have for myself and what my channel is about. For me, also not talking about it was an like a place where I have space where I'm not like the war is around me all the time. Like we're on the group chat with the family, everything. So I need my own mental health space where we're not discussing it and I'm not discussing it for my subscribers all the time. And at the end of the day, my subscribers are there to talk about acting and to talk about their journey and start their journey in acting. They're not there to talk about politics of this and this and this. Same with my social media. I'm very choosy of what I post and how much I post and how I word it. So I think if that's something you want to do, you always at the end of the day have to ask yourself, what is the point of your profile and what are you trying to say behind the message in what you're posting?
Yeah, definitely. Because the last thing that you want to do is say something that is like, it can definitely rub a lot of people. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like, we've all sometimes made posts that are just kind of a bit controversial, but at the end of the day, it's like everybody does have a right to share what they believe in, but at the end of the day, it can kind of always go into a whole different direction. Like, you could just post one. Because like somebody put it out best, it's like social media is written in permanent ink, where something that you say or do along the lines of like, oh, like this is something that doesn't really necessarily is in aligns to, what somebody else might think, or if it kind of clashes with, a company's policy or so on and so forth, then yeah, like, look, it's not like people have security cameras or just have like stuff that goes on. Like if you're in a workplace, in an environment, like, if you're in a public space, like sometimes there could be, recorded like evidence that might go about, but on social media, like your posts, somebody can easily just take it out of context and just make
Oh
you
yeah.
look bad. Or if you say something that is like really, really bad, then that's also like, that's not going to look good for you or the product or the people that you're working with. Like, they're going to be reliable for like, oh, you're employing, you have this person on your project. Ooh, not, yeah, that bad PR,
Yeah.
it does happen. It really
It does
does.
happen all the time. And I see it a lot actually, where sometimes later on they find some sort of post or something that you thought was deleted, that you thought was gone, and it was like from 10 years ago, and they find it and they
Yeah.
go through. Obviously, yeah, and I think you're right, Robert. Yes, we've all done stupid posts. We have all done things that were not good, that didn't make sense. Like we're all victims of it and we're all wrong for it. But I think moving forward, if you're in an industry that you will be on the spotlight, no matter what you if you like it or not, you are in an industry that people will talk about you. So you have to be careful how you post and what you post. And it's exactly what you said. Your caption to you may mean one thing, but when someone reads it, it can come off completely different. And I've actually had that happen to me before. I posted a video, it's called The Hard Truth of Being an Actor. And I was coming from a place of my journey, like what's it was like for me and how I see it. And I wanted to see if it resonates to anybody. This video blew up. And it was interesting. There's some people that read it and took it as like, oh, you're just complaining. And I'm like, I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to get people to understand that being an actor nowadays is not an easy job and it's hard. And I'm on my YouTube, I create a community where I want to help other people. And it was so interesting to see some negative comments come towards this video to be like, you're giving people wrong advice, or no, actually, this is not how it is. This is how it is for me. Oh, well, if you haven't made it as an actor yet, then why are you still doing this? And it was so interesting for me to watch this and be like, where are you getting this information from? But people are watching this video, interpreting it how I say and what I say, and they're connecting it to their own feelings and their own way of how they view the industry. So it doesn't even have necessarily anything to do with me. And this video, it's a video, so it's me talking. So you can hear my intonation, you can hear how I'm saying things. In a caption, it's even worse because someone can read it and read it the wrong way because there's no voice saying it. So you have to always be really kind of on guard of what exactly you're posting and how you want to phrase it to make sure it's neutral and you're not trying to start anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you have a video and then there's the you have your little comment like in the description like underneath it and somebody can just read it out of context to just be like, yeah, I don't think this is very accurate. So, and then but at least you're just coming from a place of honesty, but then again, it's not really meant for everybody, but there can also be a lot of people that could just be really, really you just can't really please everyone. That's all I could say. Like
Mhm.
they could be really tough, man, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what I learned in my own social media, doing of my profiles and my own social media, and then even working as a social media manager. That's the one thing that I have realized. I think people are not always going to be happy with everything you do. We've had people comment on some of the accounts that I work for being like, your course is too expensive. Okay, well, there's not much I can do about it. That's just what the course is priced, and that's what they're selling it as. So if you don't like it, you don't have to book it. But they feel the need to put that out there and to really come at you for how much the course is priced. And this has nothing to do with acting. This is like completely different medical field because one of the accounts I work for is a clinic and they deal with like medical stuff. So it has nothing to do with the arts industry at all, right? And especially with my video, The Hard Truth of Being an Actor, that's the one thing when I started having negative comments coming in and I'm like, you know what? I have to realize that there's some people that are not going to agree with what I say and there's going to be some people that are going to love what I say, and I just have to be okay with it. And if I don't want to be okay with it, then I am definitely not in the right industry. I should not be doing YouTube at all whatsoever.
Yeah. But I think I kind of touched on this the last time with like the Canadian industry because here in America, it's kind of like it's there's some I will say that there's differences, but then there's a lot that it's like, we're just, I mean, like with America and Canada, we kind of face like similar issues when it comes to like, there's just a lot that we kind of face. So, what is something that you've kind of been noticing, like in your time just, doing films and all this stuff up in Canada that is like, that you've started to notice compared to the US?
One thing I do notice, and I don't know if this was always a thing, like even before I started acting, but I, especially in the Toronto market, they'll like choose their top, let's say 20 actors, and they'll always be the same 20 actors that book the lead roles. And they just kind of like the casting directors just shuffle them through. And it's kind of hard if you're new, if you're trying to get up there to like really get yourself in the middle of that circle. But if you do, you're in the circle. With the States, they have, it's easier. Like it's true. There are scenarios in the States where you're walking on the street and the casting director walks by and was like, oh my God, you have the great look. Do you want to be the next lead star? And you literally become the next lead star. They don't really do that in Canada as much, and I don't know why. And I don't know if it's like a protocol thing or we have different like laws and rules about it, but that is one thing that I do notice is that for you to get into the circle, it takes a couple years for you to audition, audition, audition. Funny enough, this year there's a show that is filming in Toronto. I've auditioned for it 5 times for 5 different characters in this one year. And I'm like, okay, this is it. I think this is finally my booking for the show. And then I don't book, but then 2 weeks later or a week later, they email me again and they're like, we want you to audition for another character. And I say about this to my subscribers all the time. It's that if you were constantly auditioning for the same show, but a different character, keep doing what you're doing. It means that they love what you're doing. So don't stop. They just haven't found the right role that fits who you are, but you just have to keep going and going and going because finally the break will happen and they will find the role that fits for you. States is a bit easier. I find that you can have a break a bit faster. There's are a lot more things that film in the States than they are in Canada. So there are bigger opportunities to kind of be a day player or a one-liner. The circle is smaller in Canada. So those are a few things that I do notice from some people that I know that live in the States and they're working there compared to what I'm doing here in Toronto.
Yeah, and I think we should also discuss another important factor, marketing, website, and I think we've already discussed like how often should you update your social media, but like specifically branding. So, how long would you say that it took you to really find your unique voice in the when it comes to branding your stuff, like with your website, YouTube, all that jazz?
Oh gosh, I think it took me, I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while because I was at first when I started my YouTube and my social media, I actually started it as more of a self-love, body positive influencer. And something I really wanted to do, and I was into it, and I loved it, and it was great, and it was during COVID. But slowly, as the time went on and a few months went on, I started to realize where I'm like, I'm not loving what I'm doing. Like, I don't get me wrong, I loved showing the body positivity and self-love, but I felt that could this be something I want to be as an influencer for like a continuous 10 years? And I was like, I don't know. I don't really see that for myself. Maybe I can, but not at the time. So when I started to go into the more acting, I think from like my website that I have now, that's like my full pink website, everything, like my own branding. I honestly think it took me about 2 years to kind of find my voice, to know what I'm talking about, to understand what my purpose is here and what I'm trying to do. I think it's very subjective. I think there's people that it takes them, I kid you not, 2 weeks to find their voice and they do their thing. There's people that take 3 years to find their voice. I think it really depends on you and what your purpose is at the end of the day and what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's like when I was talking about updating your websites, and it's one of the things that I often notice is like it's a part of the personality. Like you could get a feel of who they are, who they're, what they're like. It's part of branding, you know.
Mhm. I think having a website, as an actor, I think is very important. I think it looks really professional. And you don't have to go pay someone to do it. You can easily do this on like
Yeah.
Squarespace, on Wix.com, and it's very user friendly.
Card, yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot of options out there that you can do this, and you don't need to have someone to do it for you. You just do it yourself. So, and it doesn't have to be like anything schmancy fancy. Like you don't have to have 100 things on there. Like it's not like a full blown thing. Simple, like I said, you have your demo, you have your resume, you have your headshots. I think I would even do a couple of fun photos where it's like not headshots, but more like editorial style, a bit more like just showcasing your personality through these photos where you can add it to your website as well. And just like a bio, like who you are, like, just show yourself and what you're made of and what you want and what you kind of see your future as. And it's fun because people do read these and it, like you said, it kind of gives them a little snippet of who you are.
Exactly. Yeah, because like you'd mentioned pink, and I also really love how you're actually wearing pink right now. Yeah, I just wanted to
I
point
know
that
it.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, this is my brand color. Pink, I should say pinks, not just this pink, but all pinks is like sort of my color that I'm really drawn to and I stuck with and I created my whole entire brand palette around it. And I found that if I'm going to show up for myself and I'm going to show up to do something like this, like a podcast, which is like an interview style, and I talk about because this is brand marketing. Like I'm marketing myself right now. I'm chatting about my expertise and advice and whatnot. I'm like, I'm gonna wear pink because it's my brand palette and it's something I wanna, if it's like I carry it around. If my website's pink and my whole YouTube is pink and my social media is pink, I might as well wear pink just to tie it all in together.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
because when it comes to marketing, I just kind of wear like something like, I don't know, video games because that's also a huge something that I grew up with and it's something that's a part of me, like when it comes to branding and yeah, so I just love video games. I just like talking about like I don't know, Sonic or Crash Bandicoot, stuff like that. So it's something that I often wear for to show that hey, I'm a big kid at heart. I'm fun, I'm creative, I'm just somebody who loves to play and play hard.
Yeah. But you show up as you, and that's what the important part is.
Exactly.
Your brand marketing is that, and that's how you show up as. And so you're continuing. That's into an also important note is that your social media profiles, your websites should still also continue based on how you present yourself as well. Like how you walk into an audition room, how you walk into a room with casting directors or agents to have a meeting. How, for example, if you ever get asked to do a podcast, like all these things all connect at the end of the day. So you want to show up the way you represent yourself online as well.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and I know we kind of talked about establishing yourself in showbiz, but you did bring up something that is really super fascinating about the Canadian market, where it's like they choose the top 20 over and over and over again, but in the US, it's kind of like it's a little more, how can I put this? It's more like I don't want to say it's more selective, but there's like, okay, so there's more like newcomers that are getting into the industry. So it's like, may give the new kids a shot. But for Canada, I can kind of understand to an extent because have a, they have actors or actresses that they've worked with before who know how to do the job that are, great to work with, have good reputation. So that can also play into it. That also is a factor. So I could definitely understand that, but it's just kind of like, yeah, I know it's a big gamble of just taking on somebody new who they don't really know, they haven't worked with before, so they don't know how it's like how they are like, on set, or if they're going to cause any drama, stuff like that that kind of goes into play.
I
So,
do wish
yeah,
Canada was a bit more open to that the way the US is.
yeah.
That's something I really wished because I do find that you need to give the new kids on the block a chance. There are some incredible actors that I've seen in my own time and in even just in class where I'm like, Jesus Christ, like this kid, I'm like, get them in a movie. Like give them a Leonardo DiCaprio role. Like I'm telling you, like, but it's hard to break in there. And I do want to say this though, that there are casting directors in Toronto that are really good with that they are willing to take a chance on the new kids, which I am internally grateful for, and I always will be. But there's also some that are very hard, old school, that are like, nope, like you haven't booked enough or you haven't been seen enough, so no, we're not even going to do a chance. Which at the end of the day, it's like that, like, but how do you get seen if you're not going to see me, So how are you going to sit there and tell me I'm not going to see you because you haven't get seen if you're not bringing me into the room? So it's one of those like catch 22 kind of things, but I'm hoping that we're moving away from that. It seems like we are. I know before it was something we had a really big issue with, and every Hallmark movie that we used to have come out, it was like the same Hallmark girl, the same Hallmark guy, and it just kept shuffled through. Now it's a little bit more different. After the strike, though, we actually have a lot of production companies that did shut down that did the Hallmark movies because they got out of business for so long there was no money coming in and out. So I don't know, we'll see. But that is something I do envy the states that they are very easy with giving in the new kids on the block a chance.
Yeah, and on another topic related to showbiz and piggybacking off it back into the social media question, how much would you say that it kind of helped you, like when it comes to getting your name out there because you have a YouTube channel, you have your website. Would you say that it helped you in the long run for your career?
Yes. Do I think it helped me in the short run? No. I don't think my social media, my YouTube got me my agents or my castings or anything like that, but my presence on YouTube does help me in the long run in building the career that I'm looking for, into helping other people start in their journey. And there is this thing where someone could see my YouTube, enjoy what I do on my YouTube, because I also do vlogs where I show like my literal raw self in my day-to-day life. And someone might really like that and be like, we have a new, I don't know, coming of age movie, and this girl is exactly what I want to be playing. Like she has it spot on. And from there, I could be asked to audition and go from it. So yeah, I think long run, it does help me. But in the short run, I didn't unfortunately get any big bookings from from YouTube. So yet, but you never know.
Yeah, exactly. You just never know. And I guess on that note, what is something that you're really the most excited about just in the foreseeable future?
I am excited. I'm actually working on creating a podcast myself, and that's something that's been in the works for myself for a few months now, actually. So I'm close to sort of launching it. I'm excited to kind of take that to the next level. I started doing on my channel interviews of industry professionals like casting and um acting teachers and whatnot, and I really want to take it to the next level by like really interviewing the top of the country. So that's something I'm really interested in sort of for the foreseeable future. There's some pretty good stuff that I have auditioned for that I really have my fingers crossed that maybe some of them will come to life in 2025. And Mm, my YouTube, I have some fun plans for my YouTube channel as well. Like I really want to take it to the next level as well. So I'm excited to just really dive into the creative aspect of all the things that I have going on into 2025 and see where I'm going to be at a year from now, and see where it all goes.
Yeah, let's keep pulling for the best.
100%. I think what you have to do, just stay positive, and when the time comes, it will come.
Yeah. So I know you gave the all your stuff last time, but if you'd like to share, your socials and website, just anything else, just feel free to self-promote.
100%. You guys know where to find me, my YouTube, Instagram, all that fun stuff. And I say this on my channel, but if you have any ever questions about the industry, specifically Toronto and the market, you're more than welcome to DM me or comment on my videos, and I'll be happy to help and answer.
Yeah, and any last bit of advice?
I just want to tell people who are listening to this, who are probably struggling or who might be struggling in this industry of finding themselves and getting kind of going, that it is a tough market, but you're not alone. Everybody's in it and everybody does struggle, and your time will come. It all comes from you have to believe in yourself that this is the right path for you and that you will make it. It's just going to maybe take a little bit more time for you. So be kind to yourself.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the advice that I would give too.
Exactly.
Yeah, any closing statements or outro?
No, I think thanks for having me. I mean, I'm really happy to do these with you, and it's been fun to have a chat with you. So thanks for having me on your podcast.
Yep, anytime. And this should be going up, if not today, definitely by tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, folks, stay safe out there and we will get through this. And God bless. Peace.